Hello. Hi, everyone. Giving a talk, recommended revisions for all. First of all, it's exciting to be here in Hanover. My mother was actually born not far from here. And interestingly enough, the next, I guess this is sort of giving it away, but the next MudCon will probably be in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is not far from where I was born. That's a little known fact. What? Siberia. That's a goal. With apologies, I have to give a small correction. This is actually only the third MediaWiki Users and Developers Conference, because the event earlier this year was a MediaWiki Users and Developers Workshop for no strong reason. But anyway, but I do really like that logo. Sorry to get off track. I don't know if it counts as a logo or just a design, but it's like Miro meets Mondrian or something. Yeah, I don't know. We don't have a logo, so maybe that's a good one to use. Okay, so just a little bit about me. I'm an enterprise MediaWiki developer, consultant, and evangelist. I have a consulting company called WikiWorks. My book, I brought one copy. Most people don't have a physical copy, I think, if they read it, but it's Working with MediaWiki. There hopefully will be, yeah, that's me. Yeah. Hopefully there'll be it's overdue for a new version, a new update, hopefully early next year. We'll see. And I have a podcast, a MediaWiki podcast between the brackets, and I feel like a good 20% of you have been on my podcast. Yeah. So, I don't know if that's good or bad or depressing, but no, it's great. I get it's sign we're in the right place, I suppose. Okay, so the actual topic. So installing and managing MediaWiki is complex. There's 875 extensions that are classified as stable, and then 172 others that are beta, which presumably means they're good enough to use also. For skins, it's 77 and 18. There's no way to even know about all of these, let alone try out all of them and find bugs and see how well they work for you and all of that. And that's even true. That's true, especially for just random people running their own wiki. But even for wiki farm maintainers who are supposed to really have a grasp on this thing, it's impossible to know what all the options are and what the best option is for any specific set of functionality. So, Canasta is a Docker-based MediaWiki distribution. There's the logo for it that I've been involved in. The tagline is a comfy home for your data. And you can read a lot more about it at canasta.wiki. It holds 163 extensions and 10 skins that have been curated to work well and fulfill important functionality. I believe it's simple to install and upgrade. The basic structure of it is that it's divided into two Docker images. There's Canasta Base and the one called Canasta. Canasta Base holds core MediaWiki and Linux, Apache, and all the necessary other stuff, PHP, of course. Then the Canasta image uses it's a Docker thing, and basically it contains all of Canasta Base and then really just adds extensions and skins on top of that. So that's a relatively new structure for Canasta, and it's great because it lets you easily create other MediaWiki distributions if you want to create your own with your own set of extensions and skins. Okay, so that brings us sort of to the recommended revisions project. The URL for it is here. Let me show it here. Okay, so this is what you go when you get to this URL. It explains it in a lot more detail, and then links to the actual recommended revisions. So this was created last year, about a year ago. It defines a set of extensions and skins, and then the recommended revision for each long-term support MediaWiki version. So the current one is 143, the previous one was 139, the next one will be 147. And then it also defines a YAML syntax for this information. Okay, so that's a lot to take in, but here is what the top of this file looks like for MediaWiki 143. It lists, so the first extension there alphabetically is abuse filter, and then it's got some information about that. And the most, it's because it's bundled in with MediaWiki, it doesn't actually include download stuff because it gets downloaded automatically. But the next one is admin links, and that one does have a master, specify the branch, which is master, and specifies the exact revision to use, and so on. Okay, so this is a little bit of a detail, but basically you can sort of get the idea of what recommended revisions defines. For any extension or skin, you can specify all of these different things. So additional steps can include like database updates. So if this extension has its own database tables, then you need to call update p8.php for it. So it specifies that. And we'll get back to Canasta. You may be wondering why I jumped from that to this, but RR, that's recommended revisions, it has inheritance in its syntax. So you can actually, your YAML file for your specific set of revisions can inherit from another YAML file and then make changes to that. And you can just keep going with that. So actually for Canasta, the YAML file is extremely simple. All it does is inherits the recommended revisions file for 143, that's the main one, and then that's it. So there's no difference between the official so-called recommended revisions set of software and what's in Canasta. That might change in the future, but that's how it is right now. You can see, well, yeah, you can see the URL if you don't believe me, but it's just a single line. Okay, so back to recommended revisions. The semi-guarantee is that all of these extensions are useful and that they're well maintained, and then the specific revisions specified for each one have no major known bugs and work well with one another. And I guess maybe I should explain what a revision is. I mean, each time you make a change to the software, there's a new revision that happens, and the latest revision is not necessarily the best one to use because there could have been just a bug introduced a week ago. So it's a semi-guarantee. There's no actual legal guarantee, of course, but there's a best effort made to try to get these to work, and this has been the work of a bunch of people to get it in the state that it's in now. Okay, so forking Canasta is now easy. I mean, let's say you want a MediaWiki distribution that looks like Canasta, but you don't like the header tabs extension, you want instead to use the Tabernoia extension, which is another extension that displays tabs within the page. Okay, so all you have to do is fork Canasta, and that's just basically 10 files of README and some other stuff, because all the main stuff is in Canasta base. And then you just have a new YAML file. Instead of that one-line thing, you have this 5-line thing or whatever it is that first it inherits, and then it adds Tabernoia, and then removes header tabs. So you can do both addition and removal, and you can also modify. So that's really all you need to do. And then, of course, publicize your distribution, and final step is profit. And then you're done. There may be some missing stuff between step 3 and 4. I'm not sure. So that's Canasta, and it uses recommended revisions, and those two are quite integrated with one another. But there's another use of recommended revisions, just even more recently, that was released earlier this year. The extension called Springboard, which fulfills a long-held dream of being able to install extensions and skins via the web interface, which is something that CMSs like WordPress have been able to do for decades now, but MediaWiki has not. Is Yaron here? Did he leave already? Oh, okay. Well, anyway, he worked specifically on this project back in, I want to say 2010. Yeah, I mean, so recommended revisions is sort of the missing ingredient in enabling this to work. I mean, before the idea was, well, you can have the administrator select from a list of any extension or skin that's included in Garrett, or maybe any extension or skin that's listed in MediaWiki.org, and that presents all kinds of security risks because any sort of code can end up there. Much better is allowing download of only extensions and skins, and maybe even more importantly, specific versions of those from a curated list. So if some malicious user manages to get an SQL query that deletes your database into some extension, hopefully that will get noticed and fixed before the next version of recommended revisions comes out, that sort of thing. Okay, let's do a demo of Springboard. I prepared this, so yeah, just a little video. So this is okay. So this is DiscourseDB, a wiki I administer, discoursedb.org. So here is the interface at special:/springboard. You can see here there's a list of all the extensions. In this case, this is the extensions tab. For each one, it shows the commit and the branch that's used, and it also shows the name and the description of each one. That comes directly from Wikidata, because you may have remembered there was a Wikidata ID specified for each one, so it gets that in the user's own language. So some of these, the ones that don't have a button, it means they've been installed outside of Springboard, but then some have an enable button, some have an install button, and the same thing with skins, with however many skins there are on recommended revisions, I think around 10. And then some you can't install because they require something else. So okay, so we want to install the Watch Analytics extension. So you just click on install, and there you go. It's done. It downloaded it via Git and then added it to its version of local settings.php. So now if DiscourseDB, the main page, gets reloaded, you can see, if you're familiar with Watch Analytics, you can see at the top there there's a little change to the set of links. It specifies it there. You can see the reviews thing. So now I just unenabled it in Springboard, and then when I go back here, it goes away. So just proof that the disable button also works. Okay, so that's it. Yeah, I do hope people check out Springboard. It's a cool extension, and I think it makes life easier for administrators. So what's next for recommended revisions? I mean, one big question is, right now, recommended revisions and Canasta are the same set of extensions. Should recommended revisions keep just holding a closely curated set of extensions, 160 or whatever it is, or should it hold basically all extensions that work? Like, how much should it be a best practices thing versus these at least won't break your wiki, and you may find them useful. So maybe it should have 3 or 4 times the number of extensions. So then what if that happens? If Canasta wants to remain a well-curated list, maybe it could just go through and remove using the remove keyword of 3/4 of the list or whatever. So it's an idea. It raises issues of governance too. And there's more here than I put in this slide, but I mean, one obvious thing is if there's an extension or skin that doesn't work with the next long-term support MediaWiki version, so when 147 comes out a year or 2 from now, if there's some extension that people like it, and you have to decide whether to remove it or not, there's potentially some obligation on the part of the people maintaining and or using recommended revisions to try to fix it up. Maybe that implies responsibility for the software, that if once something goes into Canasta, you're sort of guaranteeing somewhat that it'll be future compatible. So maybe there's an opportunity there for funded development, and that's a bigger discussion than I have in this slide, but there's that's been a dream of mine for a long time, to have some sort of organization, whether it's an existing one or a new one, that would take in money from users and channel that into development and maintenance of existing extensions and skins. And who knows, maybe recommended revisions is the channel through which that can materialize if enough people start to use it and coalesce on a specific set of extensions and skins that that everybody wants to see keep going. That's it. Yeah, I can answer any questions or do a demo of anything. Yeah. Oh, okay. We're not. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, that's right. Hold that question.
So how do you make sure that security fixes are updated? So if an extension is receives a security fix, how fast do you update it in recommended revisions? Or how do you make sure that users receive it as fast as possible?
Right. Well, yeah, that's a very interesting question. And it really depends on the kind of extension. Gosh. Yeah, I guess there's essentially three kinds of extensions. One was the ones that come bundled in with MediaWiki, and those are, as soon as you get the current version of MediaWiki, presumably that will have the necessary fixes in there. Anything that's bundled in has a much higher level of scrutiny, I think, which is hopefully good. Then there's the ones that are maintained by the Wikimedia Foundation. With those, usually what Canasta does is it just gets the current branch, like if it's 143, it just gets the rel 143 branch latest of that. And again, there's the hope that someone there is making sure that nothing horrible is going on with the code. The trickiest one is everything else, like all of the extensions, basically that people have talked about here, which is just extensions being maintained by individual users or companies. And there, yeah, I mean, it's a fair question. For all of my extensions, if a security fix goes in, then I go and update recommended revisions to add that in. For other people, hopefully, as this gains usage, people will. I mean, this is all stored on GitHub, so people will create GitHub issues or whatever to indicate that something needs updating right away.
All right, thank you.
It sounds like at the moment you're really, from even the comment on screen right now, right, really just looking at skins and extensions. But do you see there to be some merit, or maybe, I don't know, even part of this in also tracking the recommended revisions of other services that sit close to MediaWiki that maybe you also kind of worry about having the right match version for? So the kind of thing I'm thinking of here is like OpenSearch with the right compatible with Cirrus Search version of OpenSearch with the right plugin or something like this, right? Do you have any thoughts about that?
That's interesting. Canasta Base includes, I think it includes Elasticsearch as opposed to OpenSearch. It's the same idea. It gets updated on every major release. If a security issue comes up, then we would update that also. We'd update also. Hopefully that won't be an issue. Yeah, and I guess the same thing with MySQL and so forth. Right. It's not integrated into recommended revisions. Theoretically, it could be. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. Sure, makes sense. Yeah.
Sorry, that was also like 80% of my question. I would give probably an even more explicit example of there's a lot of popular extensions that don't work on, or there'll be an interesting compatibility matrix just with PHP, for example. So I don't know off the top of my head, but like SMW, for example, certain versions of that are incompatible with PHP 8.4, etc. And that's less about like,
Yeah.
security issues and more almost like I would want that to be part of this spec, right? I'd almost want to know this is sort of the set of MySQL versions or PHP versions or something that is compatible with this specific version of abuse filter SMW.
Yeah, it makes sense. Generally there's a recommended, I guess, PHP version for any specific MediaWiki version. I mean, to some extent, basically the latest supported PHP version, 8.4 or whatever it is. And if it doesn't work with that, I mean, that's what's going to go into Canasta. So if it doesn't work with that, then there's a problem. And I'm aware of some, of either SMW or some SMW-based extensions that have had those issues. And sure, I mean, yeah, it's a problem. Yeah, sure. That's yeah.
I have a question regarding the additional steps. I can see composer update and database update here. How fail-safe is the system? So, for example, when performing composer update or even the database update, a lot of things can go wrong. Will the Springboard extension recognize this and roll back into working state, or is there any failure handling for that?
No. Yeah, it's a problem. It's not that hard to just well, of course, it goes against the whole point of just being able to do everything from the web interface. It's not that hard if you have server access to just delete the relevant line from the settings thing. Yeah, I don't know of any easy way to know that something's not working and still have your code that checks that run. Yeah, sure.
I would have no question. Do you have like recommended settings for local settings? Because sometimes you have to add additional settings to it, and is there something like a config for that, or is it because it's not in the Wikidata, right? When there are recommended settings, for example.
Are there really? I guess I've seen that in Wikidata. Basically every MediaWiki extension gets its own Wikidata entity item pretty much automatically, and so some have all kinds of unusual things. No, there's no opportunity to add a setting to specify you should add this setting. Yeah, it's something we've talked about, and there are similar solutions like this that do have that. In my opinion, if a setting has to be added every time, then it's sort of a bug that it's not there as a default already. Like, ideally that can be fixed in the code itself. Yeah.
We have one question before from the chat. Can Canasta run in a farm, or would every wiki has its own installation? For example, are resources shared?
You can run a wiki farm from within Canasta. So I guess the answer is yes. I don't know how that ties into sharing of resources. I guess resources are shared. Yes.
Okay, thanks. Any more question?
Thank you, Yaron. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, as you know, many of the extensions have a compatibility policy, and many of them are that they track the current LTS. In some of your earlier charts, you showed some statistics of the number of well-maintained extensions versus beta. Have you looked into what fraction of the available extensions have a compatibility policy that tracks the current LTS versus master maintains backwards compatibility? And then what would be the downside if the community just got on, all agreed that they were going to adopt the LTS compatibility policy? Wouldn't that eliminate the need for this kind of a process?
Well, I think there's a strong correlation between whether it's the Wikimedia Foundation handling it developing it and the compatibility policy. That is basically all the Wikimedia Foundation extensions, visual editor, Scribunto, or everything else, only really work with the very latest, with the code as it exists at that point, the MediaWiki code as it exists at that point. Generally, I think the non WMF extensions there's no effort to keep removing backward compatible stuff. They have the issues of their own. They're not necessarily future compatible, but they generally work with past versions. So that's the short answer. So I'm guessing the vast majority of extensions have, just by default, whatever the name of the compatibility policy is, where they keep supporting stuff.
So would
Yeah.
it be a much shorter list if you were only interested in the extensions and skins whose compatibility policy was master retains backwards compatibility? If you named like 180 some extensions, if let's say 100 of them are LTS, wouldn't that just leave you with a shorter list of things that recommended revisions would be helpful for?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's not well, yes and no. It's less necessary to have something like this if you want to install, say, Visual Editor, because you just need to get the REL 143 version of Visual Editor. On the other hand, I guess two things. One is that this is not just supposed to list revisions. It's also supposed to be a best practices set of extensions. So it's helpful to have Visual Editor and everything else in one place, so these are the 150 or whatever extensions that people want to use. And the other thing is there's stuff here besides that also, like these additional steps, like you want to know, or the software would like to know what requires Composer update, for example.
Okay,
All right.
I think we are
Ready?
so we can give a final round of applause.
All right. Thank you.